everyone, it is JP and here is this week's bracelet tutorial. Pretty straightforward and simple, and it actually looks more complicated than it actually is to make. So a little right angle weave and just want to give you a good close-up. What you're going to need are superduos, 3mm beads, and 11s. The color of the superduos and where I purchased them. There we go. Misplaced my little baggie. Okay, so the color is Amethyst, Capri Gold. So they look kind of black here on video, but they're actually more of a purple or a dark purple, and then they're the Capri Gold. And these were purchased, so I got these on Amazon, but the seller on Amazon is Christina Jeffreys Gemstones. And that is, you can take a look at the email, the website, if you want to find these specific ones. And the next bead this is a 3mm matte jet black bead, and this was purchased from Artbeads. And they have a great collection of fire polish. So these are 3mm fire polish. If you don't have a fire polish, you can use bicones or pearls, rounds. Pretty much a 3mm bead is what you need, and even rondelles will work. So you've got some options there with the 3mm. The 11Os are called Duracoat Galvanized Dark Mauve, and these were purchased from Auracrystals. And there it is, Duracoat Galvanized Dark Mauve. That's the color, and I'm showing you my tubes. And then I'm using fireline, which is 6-pound fireline, and I believe my beading needle is a size 11. There's the fireline. You can probably use a 4 or even an 8. Those should work if you don't have a 6-pound. And the length of thread will depend on the length of bracelet you need. I always start with what is comfortable. Oh, and I didn't give you numbers. So this bracelet is about 6 inches or 5 3/4. Here is my ruler. So with the clasp, it is 6 inches. And what you need to do that to length the bracelet is 55 superduos is what I used here, and 52 3mm beads. You can adjust it based on what length you need. So you may need more, you may need less. So you decide. Okay, let's get started. All right, so to start our bracelet, what we're gonna do is pick up 4 superduos and 4 of the 11O beads. And then I am actually going to first go back through the beads and then tie my knot. So let's go ahead and just go through all the beads. Make sure you don't accidentally skip over the 11s. And there we go, my needle is through. And I just want to hold on to my tail, the tail end of the thread. And so this is what you should get. And I'm going to, now I can tie a knot with my 2 ends. And so just do your basic square knot, nothing, surgeon's knot. I think it's also called a surgeon's knot. Anyway. Oh, there it is. But this will give you a nice tight little ring, and we've also reinforced our beads in the process. So the thread has gone through this twice now. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and go through the superduo and the 11 here. I'm going to pull my knot into the 11, and then I'm going to exit out of a superduo. And now I'm going to pick up my 3mm. So here's my 3mm fire polish. And I'm going to go across. So here's where the thread is coming out. I'm going to go right across to the thread over here, or through to the superduo over here is what I meant to say. And so the super duo, or the fire polish, should now it's gonna pop into the center, just like that, and then go back into that fire polish, or your whatever 3mm you're using. I happen to be using fire polish, and so I'm gonna keep saying fire polish, and just like that. And then back through the super duo that we started, like so. And then just, you know, give it a good tug so everything is now very tightly tightened up, and this is sitting perfectly on top. Then go into the other hole of the super duo. Now pick up an 11, super duo, 11, super duo, 11, super duo, and one more 11. So it should be 4 11s and 3 super duos. And then just go back around our 11, or wow, words are challenging today. I apologize. I'm saying the wrong words. Go back through the super duo again, and you're going to form the second unit here. And it should just look like that, and it's going to be loose, and so we have to go through all the beads again. Go into the 11, the super duo, and an 11, and then I'm going to continue going all the way through, and then once again until I get back to the super duo where we started. I'm giving everything a good tug. And then I pick up my 3mm fire polish, and I go into the opposite super duo, like so, and get the fire polish to pop right in to position, and just use your thumb to push it down, and then tug on the thread, and it'll get right into position, as you can see there. Then go back through that fire polish, and back through the super duo, and I'm just tightening up, and there's a second unit. Okay, now go through the 11, the super duo, and then the next 11 in super duo. And we're ready to start the next unit. And again, you're going to switch into the other hole of the super duo. And once again, you're going to be picking up 4 of the 11s and 3 super duos. So I've got my 3 there. So you want to start with the 11, then the super duo, 11, super duo, 11, super duo, and you're going to end with an 11. And then you go back through that same hole of the super duo. Just like that. And then reinforce. Going back through all the beads. So I'm just doing it a couple beads at a time. I had a bead stuck to one of the other ones. I had an 11-0 stuck to another 11-0 there. And now we are almost back. Here we go. We're back to the super duo where we started. And once again, you're going to pick up the fire polish, go through this super duo, and then I just tend to kind of push the thread up and then gently just give it, slowly tighten it up. And that helps the fire polish sit in position. And then go back through the fire polish, and if it starts to get loose, I'm just going to give it a tug again, go back through it. And so you want to use your thumb to just hold it in position and then tighten the thread. And now I'm going to go into my super duo again. And there it is. And so you're just going to be repeating these steps, and I'm going to show you how to do this unit one more time. And I'm in position to add the next set of units. Now, one thing I did want to point out is to make 1 inch of the bracelet, you need 3 of these units. So you can see here's my 1 inch line here, my ruler, 3 of those units, and that gives you an idea of how many you're going to need. So I need a 6 inch bracelet. I'm going to make 18 of these units. 6 times 3, 18. If you need a 7 inch bracelet, then it's 7 times 3. And of course, you may have to do maybe 1 or 2 less depending on the clasp you're using. So this is just a ballpark idea to kind of get you started as to how many you want to make. Now I went ahead and went into the second hole of the superduo. And now once again, I'm going to pick up my 11s and superduos. I'm just going to shift my 3 of my superduos over. So it's 11, superduo, 11, superduo, 11, superduo, and we end with an 11. So 4 11s, 3 superduos, and go back through the superduo where the thread is exiting. And you got our unit. The next step is to reinforce, to tighten up. And by the way, if you're wondering, you're doing right angle weave with a 2-hole bead, which is, you know, there's slightly different steps when you use a 2-hole bead, but this is in fact the right angle weave stitch. Okay, I have reinforced. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab my fire polish, go into the opposite superduo. Nope, I don't want the 11, just the superduo. And I want to make sure the thread doesn't get caught, and I can tighten this. Then back into the fire polish, and again I'm holding it down with my thumb to help it stay in position, and then into that superduo. And then I want to get to the superduo over here. So you're going to go into an 11 and a superduo, and then another 11 and a superduo. Okay, continue. And you just need to keep going until you get to the length you desire, and then I will show you the next step. Okay, so I have made my bracelet. I made 18 units, and as I said earlier, it was about 3 units per 6 inch. So this is just slightly shy of 6 inch. It's like 5 3/4 inches, which is fine because I will now add the clasp, and I've got to put on the loops for the jump rings and then the clasp. So this should be good enough for me. And just to kind of give you a ballpark idea of how many units you're going to need. All right, so I added on my last 3 millimeter there, and the thread is coming out of that superduo down there. So what I'm going to do is go around, and I want to come out of this 11 over here. And that will put me in position to do the next step. And I'm going to go into the 11 next to the superduo and the superduo. The next 11 and superduo, and working my way around basically the next 11 superduo and the 11. Now I am in position to do the next step, and the next step is very simple. You're going to pick up your 3 millimeter and go into the 11, the superduo, and the 11 after that. So 3 beads, and pop that into place. And now you're just going to repeat. So you are already in position. We're adding the 3 millimeters between those 11s. So between this 11 and that 11, and you're just going to work your way down the bracelet. And once again, I've got my 3mm. I'm coming out of that 11. I'm going to go into the 11 that is across and into the super duo. And I got my bead in position. You don't want to yank too tight just yet. Want to give it just an even tension, so not super tight, because otherwise it'll start to curve inward. You want to lay it flat. Now I'm going to go into this next 11. And once again, I'm going to pick up that 3mm and go into the 11 and the super duo, and also this next 11 here. So sometimes it's really easy to get into that second 11, and sometimes you just have to wait a minute and do it after. And okay, so what you're going to do is make your way down to the end of the bracelet, and then what you do is once you get down to this last unit here, then you want to work your way around, just follow the thread path and come out of that 11 there, and then you're going to add your 3mm in between. But once we get there, I will show you how to just kind of what thread path to follow. Okay, see you in a minute. All right, I have gotten my 3mm added onto this side. As you can see, it's a little wobbly. Well, actually it looks pretty straight here on camera. To me, it looks a little wobbly, but it'll be, so if you see it curving, don't worry about it. Once we add the 3mm on the other side, it's gonna straighten out. My thread here is coming out of this 11 down here. Pull that up a little closer for you. As you can see, that's where it's at. So what I want to do is basically get into position, and I just need to come out of the 11 there. And so simple enough, I'm going to go through super duo 11, and then the next step is to go through the next super duo and 11. Okay, I'm gonna need some help because my needle is not pulling through. Oh, let's see, where are we? There we go. There we go. So the coating on these 11s that I'm using sometimes doesn't let the needle pass through. It's not that there's too much thread that I've gone through it, even though I have gone through it multiple times. But sometimes you need a little help. So it's grab your pliers and just pull the needle. Okay, so now you are in position to continue. Pick up your 3mm and just go into the next 11 and the super duo and come out of the 11 next to on the other side of that super duo. So okay, so here's adding 3mm on either side. Here's what you're gonna get. Now, I'm gonna pick up another 3mm because I'm in position to add. And I'm gonna go into the 11, the super duo, and if I can get into that other 11, I will. So there we go. Gotten into those 3 beads. And well, you know what to do, you just did it. So you're just gonna continue adding those 3mm all the way across. And then I'll show you the next step. All right, so I've added my 3mm on either side of my bracelet here, and here's what it looks like at this point. Now, currently my thread is coming out of the super duo, and what I need to do is actually have it come out of this super duo here, and then we are gonna add the clasp loop and continue with the next step. So I'm going to go through the 11 and that super duo, switch to the second hole of the super duo here. I'm going to pick up 4 11s. There's my 4. And I'm going to go back around the same super duo. And of course, you know what I'm gonna do now. I'm gonna make my little diamond for the clasp loop. So go through the first 11 and I move my finger out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. Now you're going to pick up an 11 and go into the next 11. And then repeat 2 more times. Pick up an 11. Oh, that one. Pick up an 11. Go into this next 11. And repeat 1 more time. Pick up an 11 and go into the next 11 and the super duo. Okay, so there's our little slightly odd shaped diamond. So it doesn't quite look like a diamond because we're using a super duo. Normally there's a seed bead there, but that's just one way to do it. You can always just make a loop and then go through it multiple times and just reinforce. I'm going to go ahead and reinforce this. And oh, my thread is all wrapped up around the bracelet here. There we go. And then again, going into the next 2, and because of the angles on this, I always like to go through the beads 2 at a time. If you are new here, I tend to make these little diamonds as my clasp loops all the time. People who watch me regularly have seen me do it pretty much for everything, and kind of my signature, as I call it. Okay, so now exit out of the super duo. I've gone through it and reinforced it. The next step is to add 3, pick up 3 11s, and then just go down into this super duo here. And there you go. So you should get a nice smooth little triangle there, little diagonal line of seed beads. And then for the next part, between all of these super duos, we're going to add seed beads. And so for this part, it's going to be 4 11s now instead of 3. And that should help it fit perfectly. So I got my 4 here, and I'm just going to go down, go through the next super duo, and it pops right into place. The spacing should be perfect. You don't need to pull tight. Again, keep your tension nice and neat, even. And then just repeat. Pick up 4 and go into the next super duo. And again, I'm going to pick up 4. There's my 4 11s, and I am just going to go into this next super duo here. Okay, so again, with this step, just continue all the way down until you get to the end, and then I will show you what to do here to make the next clasp loop, and then we'll just finish off the bracelet. We're almost done. All right, I have gotten my seed beads added to one side of the bracelet, and now let's continue and to finish this off. We are very close to being done. For this next step, you are actually going to pick up 3 11s and go into the super duo here at the end, just like that. Now pick up 4 11s, and we're going to make that clasp loop. Okay, so one of the things I don't like about, I'm just picking up my 11s here. This particular one is not doing a good job of, they've got this coating on them, and so they're getting stuck on the needle like this, and then they don't go through. So I've got to separate them out when I find them and just toss them. Because, you know, these are too small for an owl. Okay, so I've got my 4. I'm going to go back through that same super duo. Go into the first 11. Pick up an 11. Oop, not that one. And see, that one isn't. Is that one moving? Nope. Got my 11 here. Go into the next 11. And of course, my thread is wrapped around. That's okay. So I like to show you, you know, things that happen to me as I'm beading, because just to I'm not a beginner beader, but I still have, you know, the thread gets caught or I pick up too many beads, or I've got to back out. So just so you know that these things happen. It's just a normal part of beading. My next 11, and now I'm going to go through the 11 and the super duo. Give it a good tug to get that into position, and now what you're going to do is just reinforce. So go through all the beads again. So 2 beads. And again, making sure that thread isn't getting wrapped, because I have to admit, that is the one thing that drives me crazy when I'm beading, is when the thread gets caught on something. And now I'm going to go into the next 2. By the way, leave a comment below. Tell me what drives you crazy when you're beading. Is it that the thread gets caught? Just something, you know, what is the one thing that you absolutely can't stand when you're beading? Okay, now I have reinforced, and now I want this side to match this side, and so I'm just going to pick up my 3 11s, and there we go. I'm going to go into this super duo here, and now you're going to do the same thing you did on the other side. So go ahead and add 4 11s between all the super duos here. And 2, 3, and 4. And then I'm just going to go into that next super duo here. And then repeat again all the way down. So one more time, I'm just going to do this on camera. Oh, why can I not stay in frame? Sorry if I've been out of frame there. I've got my 4, and I'm just going to go into the super duo. Okay, so go ahead and just work your way down the bracelet, and then once we get to the end here, all you need to do is pick up 3 11s when you get to this last part and put in and go into the super duo, and then tie off your thread. And then we are done. Okay, so here we go. I've added seed beads on both sides now, and I'm at the last little part here. And all I've got to do is add my 3 11s and then go into the super duo. So I'm gonna pick up my 3 11s there, and I'm gonna very carefully go into the super duo. There's a lot of seed beads connected to the super duo now. And we are now basically we're done, and all I got to do is tie off the thread. And what I'm actually going to do is just go ahead and go through these 11s here. And I'm going to tie a 1/2 inch knot here between the super duo and the 11. Trying to make sure my tension, I'm not pulling the tension too tight. So I want the bracelet to sit nice and flat. And so just be careful with the tension on this one. And then go into the super duo and then through the seed beads. And then tie another one between the seed bead and the super duo. And then through the super duo, and then the 4 11s, and I'm going to tie one more, and again between the seed bead, and the super duo. And now I'm just going to go ahead and go through a few beads, and then I can trim my thread. And there we have it. It is done. Now I'm going to go ahead and just trim my thread there. Okay, so all I got to do now is add my jump rings and my clasp. I'll be back in a second. I'm going to just do that real quick off camera, and then I will have my bracelet complete. And there we go. All right, here is the completed bracelet. I've added the jump rings and the lobster claws, what I'm using. So it is totally up to you what clasp you use. But if you make the little diamond, the jump rings are just easy to pop in. And there's our bracelet all done. Well, I hope you liked the tutorial, and I will see you in the next one.